Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
Are you living your life fully, embodying the powerful, passionate, engaging energy that is the authentic expression of who you are? You have an inner guidance, a divine spark that ignites your life, empowering you to live as your highest self. Cherishing your inner spark is the key to understanding your relationship with power, how you give it away, and how you reclaim it. It's really interesting when you realize that both surrender and serendipity play really important roles in igniting that spark within. Stephanie James knows all about that inner spark. She's a seasoned psychotherapist and a transformation coach, a dynamic speaker, a published author, filmmaker, and an international podcast host. Stephanie powerfully delivers her message on all platforms to help others find their internal spark, break through self-imposed limits, and create an empowered life full of passion and possibility. With profound wisdom and decades of research, Stephanie gives her audiences a North Star to guide them to solid shores, thrive through challenging times, and cultivate strength and courage while cultivating substantial change in their lives. This woman is amazing. I had so much fun on her show. We laughed so hard. I mean, I know this is going to go really long because we just have way too much fun together, Stephanie.
It's true.
What a lovely problem to have. But, before we really jump into it, I want to do a couple of things that are going to connect our energy, yours, mine, and the God of our understanding, along with all of the audience, everybody who's watching and listening, no matter whether they're watching any time, all times, all places, everything is one. And I want to unite that energy. And the way we're going to do that is take 3 deep breaths together. And as we breathe in through the nose, think the words, I am. And as you breathe out through the mouth, think the word consciousness. So we'll do that together 3 times, and I'll let you rest gently in this divine grace for just a moment. And then I'm going to share our intention. Our intention is what we want to create and how we want to feel about it. Think about it as kind of like spiritual GPS. Okay. We're typing the directions. Hey, God of our understanding, here's where we want to go. Thanks so much for helping us out. And so it's interesting because all the research shows human beings currently have a shorter attention span than a goldfish, which is about 8 seconds. So every 8 seconds, they start life all over again, and we have less attention span than a goldfish. Kind of scary. So it's hard for the divine to lock in on what we really want if we don't hold that energy long enough. So after I share the intention, we're going to hold the intention in silence for 78 seconds. I think I'm the only show that does this, but I'm so committed to you having a transformation. I know that by doing this, and we all do it together with our energy united, it makes a massive difference. Now, there are 2 things that can make it a whole lot easier for you to go through those 78 seconds of silence. The first thing to do, pick up on 2 or 3 words in the intention that just feel expansive and uplifting, and it's that high vibration that you truly want to embody. And repeat those over and over again to yourself for those 78 seconds. The second thing to do is notice what's happening in your body. You might get chills. You might get a rush of heat. You might feel your body start to expand as the atoms dilate. Whatever you notice, a physical sensation in your body is perfect. All that means is that the divine has locked in on that higher vibration and is already starting to steer you to the intention. So you get to experience it in totality. Okay, let's get going. Let's breathe together 3 times. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out consciousness. In love and light, we hold the intention that we cherish our divine inner spark to harness our divine power, so we each embody the beautiful, authentic expression of our divine self. Thank you, divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow, there was so much energy there.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That is absolutely gorgeous. I love that practice so much. Thank you for bringing that to everyone on this show.
Well, it's amazing because I really do feel the energy from everybody. And there was a lot of energy there. There is so much interest in finding that inside, that divine spark inside, which truly is our divine power, and understanding how we can leverage that to make a difference in our lives and in the lives of others. Now, Stephanie, you've been doing this for a while and you're incredibly talented, very accomplished, but I'd love to find out kind of what got you started. Why is this such a fervent passion of yours?
A lot of reasons, of course. It's not just one. And before I even go further, though, I also want to thank you for that beautiful introduction. Just love that and love being with you. And I'm just so grateful and absolutely in joy to be here with you. So I just want to acknowledge that first. I think like a lot of people, there have been magical things that happened all the way through my life. And then there were some very, very difficult times that at times really brought me to my knees. That were those moments where it was really life-changing. And so I guess, that's part of it. And I always like to tell people, it's not that we just have this life and everything's fantastic and everything's great. We're all human beings. And I always say, nobody gets out of life unscathed. So we're going to have these moments where we're really challenged to pull up or excavate that inner spark inside of us. And I had that happen, actually, Elaine, pretty young. At 13 years old, I went from having truly a golden childhood with very intact parents, a family that was close. We did, Sunday dinners at grandma's every Sunday. And I was definitely my daddy's little shadow. Everywhere that he went, I was right there. So if he was raking the leaves, I was holding the bag. And if he was working in his workshop, I would be sitting right beside him with a little board, and he would give me nails to just hammer in the board so I could be there. And I bring this up because, this really beautiful childhood in one evening was irreversibly broken and completely shattered. And unbeknownst to any of us, my father had been having an affair and chose to tell my mother this one fateful night where my 10-year-old brother and I are awoken to the sound of screeching tires going out of the driveway. And we look out of my dirty second-story window to see my mother pulling out of the driveway and my father jumping on the hood of the car. I mean, this is such bizarre behavior, right? We had no idea what was happening, and my father's beating on the windshield for her to get out. only to find out the next day that he had told her he was in love with this other woman. He was going to leave. Well, that's when everything, of course, changed dramatically. And I moved in with my father. I left with him because I followed him everywhere. And that was very natural and normal. Unfortunately, in a very short amount of time, I had a stepmother who literally told me that she considered me the other woman. And from that point on, I wasn't allowed to speak to my father alone. I couldn't be with him alone. And literally until the day he passed, I was not allowed to speak to him alone on the phone. And so it created this, thing in me, I would say, where I started to feel unlovable. Because all of a sudden, this love object, if you will, the biggest love of my life, was saying, I'm not spending time with you. And when I chose to live with my mother, because my father and stepmother were moving to Austin, and I'd grown up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and at preschool academy at 4 years old, I had the same friends, and I was about to be a junior in high school. So I stayed, and my father didn't speak to me for a year at that time. Now, the story is important because I really did spend the next 15 years of my life, Elaine, trying to be lovable. I had all these messages around, okay, if I just look good enough, if I have the right clothes, or eventually if I have the right job, or I have the right relationship, then I'm going to feel loved. Then I'm going to feel worthy. And it was literally when I was in my early 30s, I went to this healing school that was literally in San Francisco. It was about teaching yourself how to be a clearer conduit for the divine to come through and do that healing through you. And as a therapist, it was just perfect. I wanted to be as clear a conduit as possible. And I was really aware, like, that is my mission. I am here to bring as much love and healing to the world as possible. And so the wildest thing at that event, I shook Dr. Jaffe's hand, the presenter, on our way in. And it was one of those times where he held my hand a little too long. I'm like, he's looking in my soul. I really felt it. And so he goes up on stage, and there's probably 40 of us sitting there in the audience. And about, I don't know, a third of the way through, he looks out into the audience and he says, "Hey, you in the blue coat, I have a message for you." And I'm like looking around, and all of a sudden I look down, I'm like, oh crap, I'm the one in the blue coat. And he said, what I want you to know is, and he says something, but I can't hear him. He says it again, and I still can't hear him. And people are starting to laugh. Well, by the third time he starts to say it, he's like, "My dear, obviously you have resistance to hearing this message." And so as he starts to say it again, all of the air conditioning units in the place come on, and nobody can hear him. So everybody is just laughing. And he's like, "Okay, come up here." He's like, tells me, "Come up out of the audience, come here." And so I go up there, and he says, "My dear, what is so hard for you to hear, what you have such a block towards, what you need to hear the most is stop trying. Stop trying." And he said, and he somehow he knew, he said, "Your whole life you've tried to be perfect for your father. Now you're trying to be perfect for your husband. Stop trying." And it was one of those powerful, transformative moments where I all of a sudden just got the download. It was like, oh my gosh, I've been trying to earn love in all these different ways, and it's not outside of me. This is an inside job. And I already was a spiritual seeker. I already was one of these people that was so interested in self-development and growth and evolution, but it took me on a totally deep dive to truly befriend and begin a true loving relationship with myself that has, again, just transformed my life.
Oh, That is so beautiful. And I think it's one of the biggest challenges that most of us deal with is how do we develop that sense of self-worth, of self-appreciation, self-regard, because so often we forget and we keep thinking, no, I need that external validation. But that is so temporary. And it's not really relevant because whatever we tell ourselves is what we truly believe. So you can rave about me, but if I don't believe I'm worth it, I won't even hear it. I love that story because you are absolutely right. So often we block out what we most need to receive. It's not that it isn't there. It's that we are so distracted and so convinced that we don't deserve it that we can't even hear it. Wow.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think too, oftentimes we've heard forever, right? Just love yourself, be your own best friend. And yet we know it's not that simple. So it's cultivating that relationship. And I think that's one of the things I speak with people about a lot is how do we cultivate that relationship? Because one of the pieces actually that can feel counterintuitive to a lot of people is that you have to become priority in your own life. And that's not at the exclusion of other people. It's not that other people don't matter. It's that you say, I have to be that person that has my own back, that shows up for me, that gives me that validation that I've, been so long seeking outside of myself. Because as we know, we're the ones that are looking at ourselves in the mirror at night. When we get ready for bed, we're the ones that we wake up to in the morning. So it really matters. And as we've talked about, and as you've said so beautifully already, talking about the spark, it's my brand. So it's everywhere in my film, in my book, my first book. It's literally, obviously, as you know, because you were just on Igniting the Spark podcast. And people will ask me, what is the spark? And the spark is our essential self. It is the essence of us. Some people call it the God seed or our spirit. It's the part that wind can't blow out, water can't wet it or douse it. And often what happens is we have circumstances or situations in our life that feel like it covers it up, but it's still there. And so that is our work. How can we excavate that spark? Because when we're in touch with that essential piece that is us, that divine spark that is us, then there's nothing there but unconditional love for ourselves and then for others, including sentient beings, all sentient beings, the earth, the planet, animals, and one another. I mean, it's such a game changer. And the most noble thing we can do is to do this work.
Oh, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. And I know you talk about excavating the spark. It's both excavating and truly igniting. It's setting fire to that beautiful divine spark that you are and radiating that joy, that love, that passion, that enthusiasm, because it truly does ignite it for everybody else. It's really funny. I decided I'm not working anymore. Nope, giving it up. Not doing work because work feels really heavy. It feels like I have to. And it's all on me, right? Instead, I choose to play. Play feels light and fun. It's inclusive. Other people can play with me. And it's an I get to energy that's totally different. It's really fun when I engage with the world, from a playful standpoint. Now, Stephanie, I have to ask you a question. I ask every single person on my show the same question. I've never had the same answer. I love it. Given the work that you do and what you're teaching people, how do you define abundance?
I love, to me, that there's different layers of abundance because I truly believe in an abundant mindset, that we have to move out of a scarcity mindset if we want to attract and manifest what we really want in our lives. I really believe in this abundant sense of spirit and that we can tap into that frequency and we can tap into that energy. And like you're saying, when we get in touch with the spark within us and really ignite that, it's like, oh my gosh, we can't hide it because it does change the world and it really does affect the people around us. It's so much, as you know, so far reaching, so much more than we realize. Sorry, I keep about losing my headphone here. But I think that that's truly one of these essential pieces, is to develop just an abundant way of beingness. And that's really, again, as we're in touch with the beautiful light that is within us. And that requires us to be still. That requires us to put away the cell phone and stop the distraction. Because part of abundance is realizing that the source of that abundance is truly inside of us. And we can access it when we're quiet, just like the beautiful 78 seconds that we had, to really get in touch with that intention that you spoke of. I mean, it's like something divine comes through in those moments. I mean, there's really something then that takes hold of us and starts just emanating through us. And that source is an abundant source in the universe. It is limitless. So we can get in touch with our own abundance, our own limitlessness when we tap into that.
Oh, so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. And when we catch, right, and when we catch ourselves in scarcity mindset, because we all fall prey to that. So it's not about beating yourself up if you find yourself there. It's just saying, oh, as my mom would say, oh, you're doing that stinking thinking, and so to catch that and go like, oh, that doesn't serve me. That doesn't serve me to be in scarcity. That I can actually, when I move into that place of gratitude, I can wake up in the morning and go, oh my goodness, I am so thankful for this bed. I mean, I literally right now, I have this new bed that I got a few months ago. And I swear to God, I do that every morning. I'm just in like, oh, I love this bed so much. Thank you, God. Thank you. And then it's just the little things. I mean, when I open my drapes, it's nighttime now, but when I open up these big drapes in my living room, it just floods this room with light. And so I can just be in gratitude, even on a cloudy day. It just illuminates the room. I have two beautiful puppy companions. And so just being in that just source of abundant and playful, carefree love with them. So that's it. And if we start just noticing those little things, as we know, what we focus on expands. So if you want a sense of abundance, if you want that sense of expansion in your life, it's focusing on those beautiful things, no matter how small, that bring you joy, that bring you pleasure, that bring that sense of just lit up illumination to your soul.
That is awesome. And I love what you were saying about your bed and how much you appreciate your bed, because it's gotten chilly here in Sacramento. And we finally put what we call our snuggle sheets on the bed. They are so soft and so cuddly, and they just trap your body heat. And I call it a snuggle vortex. It's really hard to get out of bed in the morning because you're trapped in a snuggle vortex and it feels great. But yeah, there are so many things that we can relish about our lives, that we can cherish about our lives, simple things. And there are an unlimited number of those. All it requires is our attention on those things that we love, that we appreciate, that we're grateful for. All the other stuff is there too. But where our attention goes is we're actually directing divine energy through our attention. We start with the intention. This is what we want to create and where we want to go. But then driving the car is our attention. And all the research shows that when on the racetrack, race car drivers are taught that you do not look at what you're trying to avoid. Because if you look at what you do not want to hit, you will steer into it. So you've got to put your attention on what you do want, not what you're trying to avoid. Now, Stephanie, you have worked with so many people over the years. I know that hopefully you've noticed a few trends, right? There's got to be certain areas where people get stuck. What's going on? What's a challenge that people typically are dealing with?
Well, I think it really does. What can happen, and I wrote about this in my book. I wrote this chapter called "Purge What Doesn't Serve," because I think that people can really get stuck in clinging, whether it's to a thought, whether it's to material things, and sometimes it's to an unhealthy relationship. And so, what I speak about in that is really taking the time we could start with like material things. I love the book by Maria Kondo, The Magical Art of Tidying Up, which literally says to go into your closet, touch each garment, and say, does this bring me joy? I also think we can do that in our surroundings because everything holds energy. And, if something is no longer serving us, what a beautiful opportunity to donate it, to give it. My sister and my mom and my sister-in-law look forward to this time every year because I always bring a big bag of clothes to the holidays of things I'm just not wearing. And I just love it. It's so fun. It's so fun to give it, and it's so fun to watch people receive it. So I feel like that clears up a lot of energy. Also, like we were just talking about, where people get stuck a lot is limiting beliefs. And what I have found, what's really interesting, and this has been, I'm guilty of this as well at times, is it's not the, oh, I'm so incredible ego self. It's actually the small self, the small self ego that says, who am I to be that? Who am I to, be speaking in all these events or doing whatever? And so I hear that so often in my office. And so a lot of times we really talk about, let's define first, what are the limiting beliefs? Because so many of them are just subconscious. They are literally there and we don't realize they are governing our life because it's how we are. If you think of it, it's like the lens you're looking at life through. So we talk about how do we clear off this lens? And so what we want to do is we want to first identify what is underneath maybe this behavior of, gosh, I go home and I crawl in bed and I don't talk to anyone. Or, it's a kind of unearthing what's driving that behavior. Oh, it's a thought, I don't feel safe. Now, interestingly, I've had a lot of people coming into my office lately and since the election, and this is not political at all, but it's people who have said, I don't feel safe. And people that feel scared. And so it's like, how do we develop a different mindset? We have to purge what doesn't serve. So living in fear, that doesn't create abundance. That doesn't create well-being. And so it's literally first identifying those and then moving the needle towards what we want to believe instead. And so that can literally just be a practice because we just have habitual thoughts. It doesn't mean they're true. Sometimes we've just thought them for so long that we think they're true.
And the ironic thing is, whatever you think is true, you notice things validating your truth and you ignore anything that does not support your truth. The same way you had that story where you couldn't hear, let it go, stop trying.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it really is, it's not seeing is believing. It's believing is seeing.
Absolutely.
So it's really taking that inventory and noticing where are our thoughts, what is limiting me? And then you can really come up with, there's a beautiful, Weldon Long wrote this beautiful, The Upside of Fear. It was his book. And one of the things he spoke about in that, he created an abundant mindset, a prosperity mindset that is so great. And so literally you're affirming these thoughts and these actions that you want to integrate into your life, because after you're saying all these things out loud to yourself every day, we know that after 21 to 30 days, your mind starts automatically, you're carving these new neural pathways and they go, oh yeah, that is true. And so then when the old thought comes up, there's something called cognitive dissonance. And our mind goes, wait a minute, that's actually not true about me. I've been developing this other mindset. So that's really, it's such a powerful tool. And the third part of that, just to finish out the purge what doesn't serve, and I know this is difficult, the purging of unhealthy relationships. I have a lot of people that I work with that come in and say, this person's abusive, or, I'm stuck in this situation that I know is unhealthy for me. And so as we start really changing some of our inner thoughts, we can also change our sense of worthiness, our sense of value, and our sense where we start saying, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. And I really teach people how they can disconnect with love. It's not that you ghost someone. It's not that you cut someone off. It's about loving yourself and then lovingly moving out of that toxic relationship.
Yeah, that is so beautiful. And it's really interesting. One of the things that I've been noticing more and more is the difference between my context, which usually is, well, I'm right. I know I'm right. And this really ought to support me. And I'm kind of dismayed that it doesn't reinforce what I thought. And then there's the divine context. The divine context is that I'm not so concerned about you feeling great or unhappy with whatever's happening in the moment. The entire focus of everything that we give you to experience is to get you to grow spiritually. That's the only thing we're trying to accomplish here. So when I can reorient myself and go, okay, the divine is just guiding me into this unusual situation, giving me the opportunity to grow on a spiritual basis. And I know I shared this with you privately, Stephanie, but a few weeks ago, I had a retinal detachment in my eye. And it actually happened a second time after the first surgery. And so I was thinking about this and going with the divine. I'm like, okay, obviously, I'm divinely guided to where I need to be. What are the blessings that are coming through for me? And as I relaxed into it and I just allowed myself to have this experience and I allowed it to be a beautiful experience, I wrote down 10 different blessings that came through for me because of this experience. Instead of embracing the resistance, I got to embrace the growth. And that just shifted everything for me.
That's so powerful. Yeah. I mean, I'm so glad that you're sharing that because I found that in my own life as well. And it's part of my film, When Sparks Ignite, that's playing right now on Humanity's Stream. And I share in there the story of, my daughter struggled with addiction for 10 years. Here was this beautiful, brilliant woman who had, 4.0 all the way through high school, was the lead in the school play, was star of the soccer team. And then she goes to college and her boyfriend that was a year older than her, who was already there and already doing drugs, was doing Oxycontin and, oxycodone. And, Acacia was hooked right away. And unfortunately, for 10 years, we really struggled with this. Well, what I share about is this moment, 10 years later, when we finally had her in a 3-month treatment center, where now, we're over 7 years, she's been completely clean and sober, which has just been the most beautiful gift. But during that time, I took over raising her 3 and 4-year-old sons. And it literally ended up being the end of my marriage because I was very unsupported by my husband at the time. And so there's this week where, the boys came and, they were really disordered. They were just, bless their hearts, they had just come out of chaos. And so I set up, this guest bedroom for them and they each had their own little bed. And I talk about this night, my husband was at a conference where he's drinking and dancing and having this great time. And I'm here working full time in my private practice and trying to take care of these little boys who are just the most precious souls. And they're scared and they're sad. And this one night I'm so tired after this huge day. And I have my head down on the nightstand and I'm in these 2 twin beds. I'm rubbing both of their backs at the same time. And I go back to my bedroom when they're finally asleep. And I just was like, God, I can't do this anymore. I was so mad. I just felt mad at my daughter. I felt mad at God. I was like, why? Why does it have to be this way? And here I'd been jet setting around the country. At the time I was married to a multimillionaire. Life was very simple. All the kids were out of the house. Life was good. And all of a sudden I hit my knees. It's one of the few times in my life, but it's happened a few times. I literally hit my knees and just surrendered. I mean, I just was like, my will doesn't work anymore. I can't try to fix her. I can't try to fix my marriage or this situation. All I can do is accept this is what's here. And I've got to love my way through this. And so the first thing is just surrendering to the divine and just saying, here, you take it. And in that moment, I experienced profound peace. and slept that night better than I had slept in so, so long. And that continued for me. It was like, again, one of these transformative moments where the divine just said, I hear you. I've got you. Thank you. Finally, for trying to quit pushing and making everything happen. You don't have to control anything. I got you. I got your back.
That is so beautiful and such a brilliant reminder because, yeah, we do struggle with this. I call it divine duality. We are human beings and we have a human experience, and that includes human emotions. Mm-hmm. And we naturally have this kind of knee-jerk response to whatever's happening in our environment. But then the other side is our higher consciousness, that divine spark within. And we need an opportunity to create room for that divine spark to enter our lives and help guide us where we're most needed to go. I've noticed that every time I want something in my outside world to change, to get different, to improve, something has to shift internally for me first. I can't have that external experience until I have this internal shift. What have you noticed your clients have to be willing to change inside to really experience that transformation?
I think you hit it. I mean, I think you really just hit it. This thing of being in alignment. And it doesn't have to be, not everyone says, oh, I've got a connection to the divine, but it's to a higher power. And it's this place where we get out of our own way. I think, and surrender, honestly, Elaine, being such a big part of that, there's got to be, I think, this place of surrender to the current situation, to where one is at in that moment in their life. Because I always think back to Michael Singer, and he's the one that wrote The Untethered Soul, but he also did the surrender experiment. And one of the things he was speaking of is suffering is when we want this moment to be anything other than what it is. And so when I see profound shifts in my clients, I think, of course, I mean, I'm also a trauma specialist. So we sometimes have to break through those layers, of trauma that are keeping some of those, whether it's somatic feelings, our feelings get trapped in our bodies, or whether it's some of these old beliefs that get trapped by the trauma and you can't logic your way out of those. So, I do use specific modalities like EMDR and some different meditation and breathwork techniques that help people to find that groundedness. It helps them rewire truly, how it's neurologically connected for them. And I think once they're able to let go of that old narrative and that old belief that has been being driven through their lives, through that trauma, it opens up this world of just possibilities for them. And that is such an exciting time. I mean, it sometimes can be very scary because some people say, I don't know what it's like out here. I don't know what it's like to live this version of myself. And so that is such a beautiful part to me of the journey, is helping people. Really, we talk about, how do you want to have your life by design? You get to be a co-creator with the divine. You get to create what this is going to look like. It's like, okay, you cleaned that lens off. You cleared all these different things from this lens. So you're seeing and experiencing life and this flow so much more clearly. So now this is the exciting part. Like you just said earlier, what do you want to focus on? Where do you want to put that intention? Because you can create this world and this life that you really want. And so I think, did I answer that question?
You did. You answered it beautifully. And it actually kind of leads me into my next question for you, because I really hope you brought a magic wand. This is the best I could. It's a pen, but it's a cute little magic wand. We would all love to just be magically cured. We have this conversation and poof, all the bad stuff disappears forever. And yet here we are on this planet to continually expand and grow in our spiritual empowerment. And so stuff is going to happen. It just is. So when you're working with your clients, what are one or two little baby steps that we could take that would get us going in the right direction?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I love that. There's a couple things. One of the things I have taught my clients is, when we start with a morning practice, we know that that's the best thing we can do, to start a routine where we're like waking up and doing our gratitudes, doing mindfulness, doing meditation, doing exercise. And yet one of the things I love is actually a journaling exercise. And if there was a small takeaway that I could give people, it's to start out each day with these 3 questions that I call the 3 C's. And so the first question is, how do I take care of myself today? Because how we take care of ourselves is going to be different day to day. It really is showing up for yourself and saying, today, as I'm tapping in, I'm realizing I'm just going to go take the dogs for a walk. I need to get out there and be in nature and see the sky. And then there's going to be days where, I need to just sit still. This morning for me, it was, I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to just get a cup of coffee and read this new book that I'm reading and give myself, these 20 minutes to just be. And it might also be like, I've been really spending lots of time alone right now. Maybe I need to, really reach out. How do I do that? What do I need to do? Maybe it's like, I need to make sure I get a massage. I need to take a hot bath tonight, whatever it is. But it's like you're making a care plan for yourself for the next 24 hours. The second C is connect. How do I connect today? So you can really look at that, like we just said. First of all, it's connecting with yourself. I'm going to make sure that I'm making time to listen in, to tap into what my needs are, how I take care of myself. And then the other connect is, we are interdependent beings. That doesn't mean codependent. It means interdependent. We need one another. And so when we realize that, we really do thrive and survive in community. So I always say, so if you can text someone, that's good. If you can call them, way better. If you can Zoom with them, better still. And if you have an opportunity to be in person with someone, that's wonderful. And really to look at, what is my need for connection today? And to make that then the intention, not just, I really need to call Aunt Sally. I really miss her. She's my favorite aunt. And I just feel so good when I talk to her. Just do it. That's the important piece. So you write down, how can I connect? And then you make sure you do it in that 24 hours. I love the last C. The last C is, how can I be creative today? And so creativity can take so many different forms. One of them can be play, like you said. One of my favorite things is, I love, I'll put on like a Spotify list that I've created. I have one that's like happy music and one that's like fun dance tunes. And I'll put the music on and dance in the kitchen when I'm making dinner, and just, it's just I just feel happy. I feel expansive. It's going into flow state. And so people say, well, do I have to do art, or do I have to be a musician? No. If you do those things, great. But being creative can be writing. It could be literally walking a different path than you usually walk. So you're seeing new things. It's putting yourself in a flow state. And it could be singing. You could just sing. You could make up songs. So this is the fun. This is the playful part that brings so much to our lives. So if you spent the time, this could be a 5-minute exercise. It doesn't have to be long, but to tap into these 3 C's in the morning, it really resources you. It really puts you in connection with that essential self. And from there, you just bring so much more intention and beauty and joy to your day.
I love that. I'm going to add a 4th C. I'm just going to challenge you a little bit and add a 4th C.
Love it.
What am I going to celebrate today? Because I like to celebrate in advance. And this really works. I've done this all the time. So I'm working on a project and I want some advice and counsel, right? I want to be inspired by something. And so I will celebrate in advance that I will receive advice from 2 mentors today. And then later in the day, I'm out grocery shopping. I'm in line behind 2 strangers that I do not know. I don't really even understand what they're talking about, but something they say sparks exactly the idea I was looking for in me, and they were my mentors. But I have to celebrate in advance. It's kind of like an intention, right? This is what will happen for me today. And that celebration gets me excited, and it opens up my peripheral vision. So I do pick up on something that they said, and it does ignite that spark inside. Yeah,
I
wanna
love that. No, I love that so much. Celebrating in advance. And then it gave me another idea that you could bookend your day, because I love the concept of bookends. It really is how we go into our day and then how we exit our day that really matters. And so maybe with so you're celebrating ahead of time. And then maybe the journal entry at night is celebrating, how did I show up for myself today? How did I do with these 4 C's? And so we also know that we have this reticular activating system in our brain, and it's the part of our brain that notices things. So if you start journaling things to celebrate and the things you did to take care of yourself during the day, your brain will automatically start seeing and noticing more of those things the next day and the next day and the next. So what a beautiful co-exercise we have mingled together here, because I really think, that's the ticket. That's how we can really make some substantial change in our lives.
Oh, Stephanie, you're amazing. I want to keep you like all night long because I'm having so much fun with this conversation. But I know that you have very generously offered a free gift to the audience as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I am so thrilled to share with everyone a PDF free download of my first book, The Spark, Igniting Your Best Life. And they can go to my website, which is stephaniejames.world. So stephaniejames.world, and you will see it right there, right when you pop onto the site. It'll say, you just enter your name and your email, and a PDF of that book will be sent right to you.
Oh, so beautiful. I am so excited to read that book. I love your style of writing. I just love the generosity and something about the way you put the words together. It's like music. It's a harmony that just is so enriching. Just the flow of the words is entrancing. I absolutely love it. So I can't wait to read that book too. And now, Stephanie, one of the things we always do here at the Abundance Journey, we always turn the tables on our guests, because we know that when we give is when we truly receive the most. So what can we do to support you?
Oh, so sweet, so kind. Well, please sign up for my book, because then you'll get on the email list, and then you can be a part of my mini events and all the things that we have coming. And I would just love if people would find me at Stephanie the Spark on my Instagram and follow me there. And then they can have daily contact. They can have daily. I put daily things in there to uplift people's spirits and ignite the spark within them. And it's just a beautiful community. So I just started looking to grow that. And so if people want to drop on to Stephanie the Spark, I would love to see you there.
Well, Stephanie, this has been an amazing conversation. I love getting together with you, but I have a little problem because I think I have 6 pages of notes.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, you gave so much. So I have a bit of a problem trying to find just one thing to do the Activate Abundance segment around. Man, make my life. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages.
Oh my gosh.
I was trying to be subtle about it, but I had to keep flipping. It's like, dang, he's got so much
so
good
fun.
stuff. Oh, you are such a treasure, such a treat. I am so grateful to you to sharing your brilliance with our audience. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you. Love you too. Such a joy to be with you. Thank you, Elaine.
Absolutely. Well, stick around because we're going to activate abundance in just a minute. Hi, it's Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador. And I know since you're listening to this show or watching this show, The Abundance Journey, you really want to experience more abundance in your life. Well, that's why I wrote the book, 5 Steps to Activate Your Abundance. It's available for sale right now from Amazon, from barnesandnoble.com, and many international sellers. And I want you to pick up a copy because I'm really opening the kimono here and sharing all of the information you need to experience abundance in every single aspect of your life. The book's divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is called Meeting the Divine. This is where I share my near-death experience and the conversation I got to have with our higher power during my stroke. In Part 2, Messages from the Divine, I share the best practices that I was given, the secret sauce in how life actually works. And so you understand really why you're here and how you can make the most of your life so you love every single moment. And then in the Part 3 is Partnering with the Divine. That's where I go into each of the 5 steps to activate your abundance and explain exactly why it works so well. So take a moment to pick up a copy. It's available as an ebook, a paperback book, an audiobook, and a video course. So however you like to absorb information, abundance is waiting for you. It's pretty obvious why I absolutely adore Stephanie James. I mean, who wouldn't? Her energy is so magnetic and contagious. I mean, she's just OMG. I want what she's having. Whatever she's having, sign me up. First, step 1 to activate abundance is always gratitude, because gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. Gratitude is what opens you up to receive everything else that you want in your life. So step 1, of course, I'm incredibly grateful to Stephanie and my 6 pages of notes she gave me. Took me a while to figure out which one I wanted to focus on. Step 2, acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you, or a reminder, a really good reminder. And one of the things that she said that I found incredibly powerful, she said, be present for yourself. And it really struck me that so often I'm so focused on the people that I'm collaborating with that I'm really present for them, and I'm not paying any attention to me and what's going on with me, right? And she's like, well, you have to take time, even if it's only 5 minutes, to truly be present for yourself, to really go inside and nurture and ignite that spark within, that divine within you, because that is what pulls you forward to really be the best you can be. So you experience incredible things in your life. So step 1 is gratitude. Step 2 is to acknowledge something you heard that was an aha, be present for yourself. Step 3 is to appreciate the difference it can make in your life. That time for self-reflection is absolutely vital to your health, to your well-being, to your ability to thrive and prosper. If you're truly committed to a life of excellence and abundance, you will make time to go within and notice what's coming up for you. One of the things that I have people do when we hold the intention is to pick 2 or 3 words that feel expansive. Well, it's also pretty easy to identify words that feel contractive. They are the reverse. They hold you back. They push you down. They shrink you. So taking the time to notice, which words am I using and how does that feel in my body? No 2 people have the same relationship with words. You have to feel it for yourself. Does this lift me and empower me or not? And if it doesn't, how can I reframe that so it truly does empower me? Taking the time to go inside and be present for myself is a huge game changer, because it's the way I can get rid of all the limiting beliefs. I have to see them first. You have to see it. You have to shift that. Remember, we talked about you'll only see it when you believe it first. And that's so important. Step 4, activate abundance. We've got 3 different ways that we take a concept and we turn it into tangible physical reality. The first way is schedule time to get it done. Now, I include journaling here because often we're just too close to it. We can't even see what's going on in our own lives until we start writing it down, and then we can get an objective perspective on what's happening and what's showing up for us. So journaling is incredibly powerful. The second way to really activate abundance is to create a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe as a reminder, hey, am I really being present for myself? Even though I'm in a meeting, even though I'm, walking the dogs, whatever it is I'm doing, am I truly present for myself? Am I noticing what's coming up for me? A physical trigger is a very powerful way to remind yourself of what's important to you. Now, the third way to activate abundance, I love accountability buddies. I call them abundance buddies. I wonder why. But having somebody who gets you, who knows you, who understands where you're coming from, and they're like, hey, are you taking any time for yourself? Have you really gone inside and thought about what's showing up for you? Did you journal about that yet today? Somebody who can lovingly remind you of the behaviors that you specifically are choosing to serve yourself and go inside. That's so powerful because they can celebrate your life with you and help you uncover what's happening in your own life. Step 5, celebrate your progress. This is an ongoing journey of discovery. You are continually unfolding on this beautiful, amazing expansion of spiritual insight and knowledge. Who you are is so much bigger than you could ever imagine. I mean, truly, this is like the ultimate infomercial. But wait, there's more and more, and it's even better, and you never end. It's so beautiful what you can experience when you're willing to be present for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time for the Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.